Prime Minister Mark Carney is here in Beijing with 5 members of his cabinet. He's got the ministers of industry, foreign affairs, natural resources, international trade, and agriculture. Plus, he's got the Premier of Saskatchewan here. And they were all officially welcomed in the Great Hall of the People by China's number 2 in command, Premier Li Qiang.
Mark Carney has arrived in Beijing, and his first day could change Canada's future forever. Energy deals are in motion, but tariffs still hang over agriculture like a shadow. The stakes are high, the pressure immense, and every move he makes will be watched, by markets, by governments, and by Canadians hoping for real change. What happens next could reshape trade, diplomacy, and the very path of our country, and it all starts now. The moment Mark Carney arrived in Beijing, it was clear this was no ordinary visit. Years of tension between Canada and China had left an invisible wall between the two countries, one built with tariffs, delayed deals, and cautious diplomacy. But on this first day, Carney stepped onto that stage with a purpose that could redefine decades of relations. The air was thick with expectation, because what happens in these meetings doesn't just affect trade figures, it shapes the future of energy, agriculture, and strategic partnership between two nations whose histories have been entwined, yet strained. From the very beginning, the negotiations signaled a subtle shift. While Beijing did not immediately commit to buying more Canadian petroleum or liquefied natural gas, the two sides agreed to cooperate more closely on clean and conventional energy. It may not have been the dramatic breakthrough headlines crave, but insiders knew that non-binding agreements like this one, especially after nearly a decade without ministerial-level talks, are the kind of slow, strategic steps that build trust and lay the groundwork for future wins. Energy and Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson emphasized that while China did not promise immediate purchases, they were clear about wanting more Canadian products, a subtle but powerful signal of intent. Carney's approach has always been strategic, measured, and focused on long-term outcomes. This visit, part of a broader effort to move past years of diplomatic tension, was not about winning applause or making promises that cannot be kept. It was about rebuilding a foundation that would allow Canada to double its non-US exports over the next decade, to make Canada a reliable, strategic partner on the global stage. Every handshake, every discussion, every memorandum of understanding signed, even those without immediate financial gain, was a brick in that foundation. The day unfolded with a careful balance of progress and pressure. Canada and China signed a trade and economic cooperation roadmap, outlining plans to boost trade and renew previous agreements. This included increasing exports of Canadian pet food, improving tourism, and continuing to collaborate on security and crime prevention. Minister Melanie Joly called it a new era of partnership with China, and in many ways, this phrasing captured the essence of what Carney's presence represented: stability, careful planning, and forward-looking strategy. Meetings with Chinese leaders, including Premier Li Qiang, highlighted just how far the relationship had come. Li expressed that Carney's visit was a turning point, signaling China's willingness to remove obstacles and improve trust and communication. Yet, the real pressure point remained: tariffs. Beijing has maintained retaliatory levies on Canadian agriculture, including canola, after Canada's alignment with U.S. tariffs on Chinese products. Carney knew that securing relief for farmers was crucial, not only economically, but politically. But diplomacy, he understood, is rarely about instant wins, it is a test of patience, credibility, and persistence. Even as the day progressed, the tension never left the room. Every nod, every carefully chosen word, every line of the memorandum carried weight. The agreements on energy resources, LNG, and emission reductions may appear incremental to an outside observer, but to anyone watching closely, they are the signals of progress. Carney emphasized that the teams in both countries had been addressing long-standing issues for months and that these early successes were creating a foundation for a new strategic partnership. The progress made in recent months, he said, will help set Canada and China up for the new world order. This is where Carney's strength as a leader becomes visible. Calm, deliberate, yet relentless, he navigates the fine line between patience and pressure. While the cameras captured ceremonial handshakes, behind the scenes he was calculating, negotiating, and ensuring that Canada's long-term interests were protected. The energy deals, while non-binding, were a signal to investors and markets that Canada was serious about strategic, sustainable energy cooperation. That signal alone can shift perceptions, open doors, and set the stage for future agreements that could be far more lucrative and far-reaching than anything achieved in a single day. In parallel, agriculture remained a complex battlefield. Officials openly acknowledged that negotiations were ongoing and that no immediate breakthrough was likely. But Carney's presence sent a message: Canada would not shy away from difficult conversations. With Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe alongside him, expectations were high, yet tempered by the reality that diplomatic progress is rarely linear. Even Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand noted that talks were continuing and productive, highlighting the careful diplomacy required to persuade China to ease tariffs. Throughout the day, Carney also met with business leaders, including representatives from contemporary Amperex Technology, a major Chinese multinational in the electric vehicle battery sector. These meetings underscored the breadth of Canada's strategy: energy, technology, and trade are all intertwined. Carney understands that strategic partnerships are not isolated transactions, they are ecosystems of trust, investment, and foresight. His ability to navigate these ecosystems demonstrates why this first day in China carries significance far beyond immediate headlines. As the day drew to a close, it became evident that the visit was about shaping narratives as much as securing agreements. Carney praised China's leadership and the pace at which the relationship had evolved, framing these early interactions as stepping stones toward broader cooperation. The emphasis on stability, security, sustainability, and prosperity was deliberate. It reassured Canadian citizens, global markets, and international partners that Canada was not merely reacting to challenges but proactively positioning itself for the decades ahead. And yet, the suspense remains palpable. Tariffs, agriculture, and unresolved trade issues continue to loom over the bilateral relationship. The headlines may not read as victories yet, but anyone paying attention to the nuances of these agreements understands that diplomacy often works in layers. Carney's first day has laid a foundation, an invisible architecture upon which tangible results will eventually be built. The Energy Memorandum, strategic discussions, and renewed cooperative agreements are the quiet signals that the true breakthroughs may be just around the corner. By the end of the day, observers could see the subtle but unmistakable impact of Carney's leadership. The strategic patience, disciplined negotiation, and insistence on long-term stability over short-term applause reflect a style of governance that is rare, especially in the high-stakes arena of international trade. Canadians may not yet see tariff relief, but they are witnessing a shift toward partnership, credibility, and trust that could redefine relations with China for years to come. Mark Carney's first day in Beijing was not about flashy announcements or immediate wins. It was about vision, execution, and laying the groundwork for Canada to become a respected, strategic partner in a complex global environment. Every handshake, every memorandum, every discussion contributed to a story far bigger than a single trade deal. It was a story about leadership under pressure, about diplomacy that balances ambition with realism, and about a future in which Canada can navigate global challenges not reactively, but proactively. As he prepares to meet President Xi Jinping, the world watches closely. Energy deals have been secured, tariffs remain a tension point, and the path forward is still being negotiated. But for those who understand the stakes, one thing is clear: Mark Carney's first day in China is not just a diplomatic visit, it is the opening act of a strategy designed to reshape Canada's role in global trade, energy, and international partnership. The suspense is real, the stakes are high, and the journey has only just begun.